Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtotada Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtotada Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sekho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Kapu Gopinath Sham Kunara Kungiri Govardhana Ki Brajabhumi Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Ganga Maya Muna Ki Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. You open my dark eyes, fill my heart with gratitude. Give the Lord a word from Him. We need to sing of the Spirit, of spiritual master, when the poor, Lord and Master, commands the demons to forgive us. Give us the spirit of devotion. Your feet is right all over the world. We take the center of the divine grace. Is the dance from Srila Prabhupada Ki. It's just you today. It's just you today. You in the audience.
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Whenever he is ready. Items కావాలి. ఏంటన్నా नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। कामधियस्त्वयि रचिता न परमरोहन्ति यथा कर्म बीजानि। ज्ञानात्मनि अनुगण अगुणमये गुणगुणतोऽस्य द्वन्द्वजालानि। कामधियस्त्वयि रचिता न परमरोहन्ति यथा करम्भ बीजानि। ज्ञानात्मनि अगुणमयि गुणागुणतोऽस्य द्वन्द्वजालानि One more. कामधेयस्त्वयि रचिता न परमरोहन्ति यथा करम्बबीजानि ज्ञानात्मनि अगुणमये गुणागुणमत्तो यस्य द्वन्द्वजालानि कामधियः desires for sense gratification. Tvayi, in you. Rachitaha, performed. Na, not. Parama, O Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rohanti, do grow, produce other bodies. Yatha, just as. Karambhabijani, sterilized or fried seeds. Jnana Atmani, in you, whose existence is in full knowledge. Agunamaye, who is not affected by the material qualities. Gunaganataha, from the material qualities. Asya, of a person. Dvandvajalani, the networks of duality. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Supreme Lord, if persons obsessed with material desires for sense gratification through material opulence worship you, who are the source of all knowledge and are transcendental to material qualities, they are not subject to material birth, just as sterilized or fried seeds do not produce plants. Living entities are subjected to the repetition of birth and death because they are conditioned by material nature. But since you are transcendental, one who is inclined to associate with you in transcendence escapes the conditions of material nature. Purport. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 text 9 wherein the Lord says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma aitimameti sorjana. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. If one simply engages in Krishna consciousness to understand Krishna, he surely becomes immune to the process of repeated birth and death. As clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita, Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti. Such a person, simply by engaging in Krishna consciousness or understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, becomes quite fit to return home back to Godhead. Even those who are obsessed with material desires may also come to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead so steadily that they go back to Godhead. The fact is that if one comes to Krishna consciousness, although he may have many material desires, he becomes increasingly attached to the lotus feet of Krishna through associating with the Supreme Lord by chanting his holy name. The Supreme Lord and his holy name are identical. Thus, he becomes uninterested in attachment to material enjoyment. The perfection of life is to be uninterested in material enjoyment and interested in Krishna. If one comes to Krishna consciousness somehow or other, even for material gain, the result is that he will be liberated. Kamad, Dveshad, Bhayat, Snehat. For whatever the satisfaction, whether for the satisfaction of material desires, because of the influence of envy, because of fear, because of affection, or because of any other reason, if one comes to Krishna, his life is successful. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschatya Deshatarine वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So before we get into the verse and the purport, let's review something from yesterday. What are some things you remember from our discussion yesterday? From the verse and purport, something. One or two things. Yes? When we think of important and urgent matrix, we tend to focus so much on the urgent and important because things get moved to the last minute. Okay? What else? Anyone remember what the verse was about? What Chitraketu was saying to the Lord? Something about demigods. Yes. Correct. Thank you. And what is the feature of the benedictions of demigods? What's the problem? They are temporary. Right. Why are they temporary? You had your hand raised, Ranisha? No, why are the benedictions of demigods temporary? There's something about the demigods. They're also temporary. A temporary person cannot give an eternal benediction. They're also temporary. Their powers go away with time. Okay? What else? We need to take shelter of Krishna. Because when we talked about the earthquake, that when the ground below our feet shakes or moves, the tendency is to hold on to something that will give us stability. But there's nothing in the material world like that, because if the whole material world is moving, anything we hold on to, material, will also be moving. So there's no sense of shelter unless we hold on to Krishna's lotus feet. Krishna's lotus feet are called the place of, there is something at Krishna's lotus feet. Fearlessness. Thank you. Okay, what else? Something about attachments. Gokulanand. Crisis. Touched. Correct. Thank you. Very good. So then the verse in the purport ended with a very important verse which one should know. Akama sarvakamova mokshakama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Tivrena means laser pointed focus. And we discussed a little what was laser pointed focus in devotional life. That is, in every activity, that in our thoughts, actions, and words, that the purpose that this is for service to Krishna, as that becomes clearer, the laser pointedness becomes sharper. In other words, in the Bhagavad Gita language, it's called Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, single pointed intelligence or resolute intelligence. If the purpose is not clear, the tendency for our intelligence to get splayed is very high. Or to that degree, it gets distracted or splayed or diffused. And so, connected to that verse, that it doesn't matter to perform laser pointed devotional service, one doesn't have to be free of all material desires. The verse says one can have all material desires. One can be desiring liberation. One can be desireless still by performance of laser pointed devotional service. One will be able to approach or see the Supreme Lord. So that theme continues into today's verse. That the conditioned soul by nature has all sorts of material desires. And when they approach the Lord, Sri Krishna, even with those desires, something happens. Versus some other conditioned soul who pursues their material desire without Krishna in the picture. They have something else as an outcome. Okay? So, those who pursue their material desires and have nothing to do with Krishna, they're just pursuing their one desire after another, one desire after another. What's the consequence? Repetition of birth and death. Correct. Because our fruitive activity actually prepares us for our next body. Because according to our fruitive desires, we perform certain activities. From those activities, we get reactions, and those reactions tend to further strengthen or change the desires that we have for enjoyment. So, by following the fruitive mentality, one prepares one's next body. One is getting ready for the next, whatever form of life that he or she will occupy. However, the verse says, or Chitraketu is saying, any person who pursues his or her material desires, but with Krishna in the picture, something happens. They don't get another birth, even if they're not performing pure devotional service. They don't get another birth. Why? He gives the analogy of sterilized or fried seeds. They do not germinate. Why? What is it about Krishna that even if a person approaches him with material desires, that person will not have another birth. He will take away the material desires for one who approaches him. Yeah, very good. He gives a person shelter at his lotus feet. Very good. What is it about Krishna though? It burns away one's karma. Very good. What else? Sorry, you realize? Oh, very good. The desire that you came with is not as fulfilling as Krishna. Very, very nice. Krishna is more attractive. So Prabhupada narrates a story that there was a Bhagavatam class and a lot of people had gathered, and the speaker was describing Krishna. That this baby Krishna, a little boy, he goes out to herd the calves, and every morning Mother Yashoda sends him to the forest, to the grazing pastures, by dressing him up in very fine silken cloth, with beautiful pearl necklaces round his neck, and little jewelry and pins and all things on his crown, with beautiful golden shining armlets, very beautiful dazzling ankle bells, and around his waist are more jewels, etc. So it's describing. So in that crowd, there was a thief who had never heard about Krishna. And he said, wow, so much jewelry on a little kid. It'd be interesting if I can steal it from this kid. So the more he was hearing the Bhagavatam class, the more his desire to steal those jewels from this boy called Krishna became stronger. And so he heard even more intently and found out that one can find Krishna in a place called Vrindavan. So he went to Vrindavan because he was interested in the heist, getting all the gold and jewels from this little boy who goes out to herd calves. Come on, no one's looking, no cameras. That's pretty cool. So he went to Vrindavan, and throughout the forest of Vrindavan, he was searching. Where is this boy Krishna? Where is this boy Krishna? Where is this boy Krishna? He didn't know who he was looking for, but he just had a description in his mind. And he kept looking, where is this Krishna? Where is this Krishna? And his desire was so strong to see Krishna. But guess what? A little cowherd boy with a peacock feather on his head came and said, are you looking for me? Are you Krishna? Yes. And looked at all those jewels that were decorating. It's like, but as he kept gazing at Krishna, the little boy is just smiling at him. His entire desire for those jewels went away. And he said, how can I serve you? Can I surrender my life to you? That was the transforming potency of Krishna. The reason a person may come with material desires, even with material desires, when they approach Krishna, there is something about Krishna. Because he is Satchid Ananda Vigraha, he is the embodiment of eternality, knowledge, and bliss. He has the tendency, or he has the capacity to transform a person. So much so that the strength of the material desires, however strong those desires can be, they begin to slacken. The knot begins to slacken when a person approaches Krishna. That is his nature. That is who he is. And from him effuses such strong love, that for that love, the person is willing to give up all their desires. Now, this is the process of Krishna consciousness for us also. But it's not something that is so sometimes obvious. The obviousness is, something that's so obvious is, that we, as sadhakas, we are practicing our Krishna consciousness and we are committed to doing what we are doing every day. We even stand in front of the whole world and take vows. I will and I will not. Uh, is because there is a little taste of Krishna's love. And that is the impelling force. Although we may not be very aware of it or fully cognizant of it, but that is what it is. It is even if we get a microscopic or atomic uh, particle of Krishna's love, it is strong enough to keep us going. Otherwise, if we were to ask ourselves, why am I doing anything in the first place? Yeah, the building is old, it's cold, it's not like, none of us has money per se. It's not like we're living in the lap of luxury or anything. Yeah? We have to wake up at 3:45 in the morning. There's a bell that rings. If you don't wake up, someone's going to ask you, what happened? Why didn't you show up? And it's like everyone gets the same diet, although it's really nice, but we suppose I don't like what I'm eating, I want something different. We don't get that. We have to go do seva. We have to do all this, chant 16 rounds. It's not just chant 16 rounds, you have to chant 16 rounds attentively. What is easier, chanting 16 rounds attentively or chanting 16 inattentively? Huh? Is easier, which is true. It is actually easier than to chant inattentively, because inattentively there's a problem. We forget how many rounds we have chanted. It's a little frustrating. Oh man, what happened? Which round was this? I don't know. Then we look at big beat, small beat, whatever. We have our own methods. Chanting attentively is easier. If you notice, if you chant in the morning, especially with sitting together and chanting, you don't notice how time goes. Otherwise, it's a drag. Not never finishes. Chanting attentively is easier. What makes us do everything again and again each day is some experience of that love. And unfortunately for us, or for many of us, we don't recognize that that is love. Part of the problem is we come from an environment where we don't know what love looks like, how it feels, what shape it has, what taste it has. But something it is something that we get, that we want to do it again, or we continue doing it. We continue waking up, chanting our rounds, doing seva, because there is some semblance of taste. True? And that taste of Krishna's love comes through many channels. It's the spiritual master, it's the devotees, it's the process of bhakti. We definitely accept love from prasadam. Right? Prasadam means love of Krishna. Right? Mercy is love. Without love, can anyone be merciful? Without someone's heart being soft with love, can that person express mercy to anyone? Because it's not a mechanical thing. Oh, I have to be merciful. Unless there is softness in the heart, one cannot be merciful. So when Krishna is merciful, that means Krishna is full of love. He is giving us prasadam. Krishna bara doyamoy. Out of his causeless mercy, he is giving us his love, his prasadam. Prasadam means mercy, and mercy is love. So that definitely is very attractive. And there are other ways by which we experience that love, the care of other devotees, etc. So that's what keeps us going. Of course, and the presence of, kind of discount, the presence of Krishna or Kishore Kishori and the deities, we feel something. Now, there are certain things that block that love. And what is it that blocks the love? Offenses, okay? Offenses makes a shield. No love. What else? Laziness, okay? Desire, material desire. It causes us to block out the love. So the process of Krishna consciousness is such that systematically, by our effort and by Krishna's mercy, those blocks are being removed. It's called anartha nivritti, our favorite phase of Krishna consciousness, right? Anartha nivritti. Anartha because the word artha means useful or valuable. And material desires are anarthas, they are unnecessary. Why are they unnecessary? Why are material desires unnecessary? According to this verse. Well, that of course, but why? In relation to Krishna, why are material desires unnecessary? There you go. Because Krishna is everything and he provides everything. Very simple. Thank you. Because Krishna is everything. One who comes to Krishna, they get everything. Everything that is needed is provided by Krishna. So then there is no room for or no need for material desires separate from Krishna. And so one who comes to Krishna even with material desires, such a person gets Krishna through the medium of service. That's the point of this verse. Another aspect is that Krishna is beyond the modes of nature. Agunamayi. This word gunamayi is used in the Bhagavad Gita. Where? Where is it used? Daivi Esha Gunamayi. Gunamayi means influenced by the modes of nature. This divine energy of mine, called the material energy, is manifested by or influenced by the three, or is made of the three modes of material nature. Gunamayi. Guna means rope, right? And we are all considered to be bound by the ropes of material energy, the three modes of nature. Agunamayi, of course, means that Krishna is not influenced by the modes of nature. It also means that Krishna is not tied up. Only Mother Yashoda can tie. The modes of nature cannot tie Krishna. They cannot bind him because he's not influenced by them. So one who contacts Krishna, they also become Agunamayi. That is his nature. Just as there's fire, and fire's inherent qualities are heat and light. The closer we get to fire, the warmer we get. Correct? And the farther we are from fire, the colder we get. And when we are so close to the fire, we can feel the heat in our own bodies. Similarly, the closer we are to Krishna, we get the same qualities. And Krishna is transcendental, and our transcendental nature becomes manifest. The famous analogy that Prabhupada will give is iron rod in fire. When the iron rod is put in fire, the iron rod takes on all the qualities of fire, becomes fire-like. Although it's iron rod, it becomes fire-like. This is the nature of Krishna, that even if one comes with material desires, he makes them so satisfied that those desires vanish. Another appreciation is in the nectar of devotion, um, we hear about our karma. It is stored in the form of seed, bija. And this of course, before the bija, it is called kuta, where it is a tendency. It is subtler than the seed. For example, let's take the seed of coriander or cilantro. If there is no tendency for the plant, it will not produce such a seed. It does not produce a mustard seed, it produces a coriander seed, because it has the inherent tendency in it. And the seed then fructifies, it germinates, and the plant manifests. Similarly, our karma is stored. And how much karma do we have? How much karma, stockpile of karma do we have? We are told that there is a whole warehouse of it. And in this lifetime, we are getting a fistful. How many fistfuls in a warehouse? Unlimited. That much karma is there. And all that karma is stored in the form of a seed. And with the proper time and the proper circumstance, those seeds manifest or germinate. And that is called the cycle of aprarabdha karma becoming what's called prarabdha. Prarabdha means that which we are experiencing now. All whatever good comes our way or bad, it's all that prarabdha now. And what's waiting to happen is in the category of aprarabdha. And in this case also the reference is to the seed. That by serving Krishna, all those material desires that are packed up in seed-like form are destroyed. Because the fire of devotional service fries them out. So the seeds of material desire also talk to each other. Boy, I'm fried out today. I'm fried out. Instead of the devotees, the seeds of desire that are fried out, they cannot germinate. That's the power of bhakti. Although it is very soothing to the heart, it burns the material desires. Then Prabhupada ends the purport with a nice phrase: Kamad, Dveshat, Bhayat, Snehat. Kama means out of intense material desire. Dvesha means out of, Dveshat means out of envy towards Krishna. Bhayat, out of fear towards Krishna. And Snehat is out of friendship towards Krishna. This means anyone can come to Krishna with any of these desires, and still they will get liberated. If one comes to Krishna consciousness somehow or other, even for material gain, the result is that he will be liberated. So, Kamad, any example of someone who came to Krishna with a lot of material desire? Dhruva Maharaj. He's pointing to you. You came to Krishna with a lot of material desire. It's a joke. Kubja. Kubja, very good. She came to Krishna with sandalwood pulp or paste because she had lusty desires for Krishna. But she was, I guess, disfigured because of a hunchback. But her desire to serve Krishna was very strong. So Krishna, because he's the original chiropractor, I believe, he stepped on her toes. He touched her chin and with this finger lifted up, straightened her out. And not only straightened her out, she became so beautiful that Krishna actually later visited her house. It was a beautiful pastime. When he came with Akrura, he went to her house and spent some time with her. Kamad. Okay, more examples. One more of Kamad, one who comes to Krishna with a lot of material desires. Sudam Brahman is coming later. It comes later. Snehat. Okay, something to think about. Any other devotee who came to Krishna with a lot of material desire? Yes. Kamsa comes in this bhayat, or of fear. That's the other category. Okay, something to think about. Breakfast discussion. Dveshat, out of envy towards Krishna. Shishupal, the quintessential envious fellow. Uh, out of envy, he came to Krishna. Even Ravan, because he was envying Ramachandra's possession, Sita Devi. He's considered to be like the most lusty fellow. So anyway, Shishupal, so much envy towards Krishna for no reason. Since his birth, he was envious of Krishna. Like anything. All the mean things he said to Krishna. And all the devotees had to hear it. But Krishna had promised Shishupal's mother, because she was his aunt, I will not do anything to him. I will forgive 100 offenses. So it's described that he knew, Shishupal always knew, that Krishna will forgive up to 100 offenses. So one devotee was sharing that every time Shishupal would meet Krishna, he would be offensive 99 times and he would keep quiet. And Krishna would not do anything because he said, up to 100, I will not say anything. So every time they would meet, he would almost like be offensive 99 different ways in 99 different times and then keep quiet. And all the devotees are like, why doesn't Krishna do something about it? Krishna said, 99. But in the assembly hall of King Yudhishthira, when he was going to do the Rajasuya Yagya, I think, what's his name? Shishupal lost it. His counting machine was not working. He went up to 100 offenses. And Krishna cut his head off. The devotees rejoiced like anything. Up till then, Bhima was ready with his mace to smash this guy. But because Krishna had said, I will not do anything. Once he said 100 and his head was cut off. All the yeah, no more offensive to Krishna. They were pleased. Anyone else came to Krishna with a lot of envy? Huh? Indra, that particular pastime of Govardhan, when Krishna took all the offerings and said to the Vrajvasis, offer it to Govardhan hill. My offerings, they're mine. So when we compete with Krishna, that's called envy. Okay, then Bhayat, out of fear. Kamsa. Kamsa was so mortified, paranoid like anything about Krishna, that every day, every moment, he was thinking of Krishna. It is described that he used to have dreams. The dreams were when he would look at his own, in the dream, he would look at his shadow and there would be no head. And any noise, suppose the wind chime went, is that Krishna? A little light somewhere moved, or a curtain moved, or something, and there was a little light in the. Is that Krishna? Someone would bring something. Is Krishna here? Is Krishna here? He was so mortified that he was only, Prabhupada says, he was very Krishna conscious. It's just that he was not favorably Krishna conscious, but he was very Krishna conscious. Always afraid. Krishna is very tricky. Where will he come from? Is he going to kill me? Paranoid. So bhayat and snehat, from friendship. Because of affection. Snehat, Sudama. He came to visit Krishna because he had affection. Or Rukmini Devi. She had never met Krishna. And she had only heard about Krishna from all the Brahmins who would come to the royal palace, her father Bhishmaka's palace, and they would recite stories about Krishna. Oh, Krishna did like this, Krishna did like that. When he was a young boy, this is what he did. And just hearing about Krishna, she became very attracted. And the time came when Bhishmaka, he thought it would be nice to get my daughter married to Krishna. But her brother Rukmi, he had a different plan. His plans were more politically motivated. He wanted Rukmini to marry Shishupal, boy, of all people. Shishupal, who was competing with Krishna for everything. And he said, no, she should marry Shishupal. And he convinced King Bhishmaka that it'd be good for the family, it'd be good for our kingdom to make friendships with Shishupal. So when the wedding was confirmed, fixed, Rukmini didn't know what to do. She was desperate to be with Krishna. So she wrote him a letter. So some devotees express this was the first love letter that was ever written. So she sent him a letter, and through the hands of a Brahmin. And if you read those verses, the very, very interesting way she writes, she says, what is the use of marrying any fellow whose body is created with mucus, bile, urine, stool, and the face is decorated with hair, beard, and mustache? Because these things will all fade away anyway with time. But if there is anyone who is worthy of being a husband, that is only you, my dear Krishna. Which is universally true statement, by the way. If anyone is worthy of being a husband, it is Krishna. Husband means pati. Pati is in Sanskrit means one who can maintain. So those of us who are husbands, we are only conditional maintainers because we cannot maintain in all circumstances. We are not able to provide everything for our families at all times. It's just practically impossible. But Krishna, he can not only maintain one wife, two wives, but he can maintain 16,108 wives and unlimited living entities eternally. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidudati Kaman. That is why Krishna is the only husband. So, so Rukmini, when she wrote such letter, Krishna came. And to really make it difficult for Shishupal, he kidnapped her right in front of his eyes, from right in front, under his nose, as they say, and took her away. He came so quickly that Shishupal was sitting on his in his chariot, really, with his chest all whitened like this, because Rukmini had just walked out of Katyayani Devi's temple. And the pastime describes that Rukmini was so beautiful that she had curly hair that was down her forehead, and from the corner of her eye, she was looking for Krishna. Is he here? Until that time, no king or prince had ever seen Rukmini. They only heard of because she was not like she was walking around, going to college here and there. She was at home. And this is the first time they saw Rukmini's beauty. And it's described that she was so stunning, as they say, drop dead gorgeous, that the kings and princes, they fell off their horses and elephants because they didn't know how to maintain their minds with such beauty. They all started falling off their elephants and horses. Their minds were bewildered like anything. Such beauty they had never seen. And Shishupal, my wife, Krishna comes and just grabs her away in the middle of this whole thing. And can you imagine, for a fellow who's already envious of Krishna, this is like the worst insult to take away the one he's about to marry? Oh boy, Shishupal was livid. But Krishna is Rukmini's desire, snehat, out of affection when one approaches Krishna. So of course, ideal is to approach Krishna with affection. But here, Krishna is so accommodating. If we say to everyone, you can only come to Krishna if you have affection, then Krishna will be all alone. Material world, Kali Yuga time, no one will come. Krishna is like, it doesn't matter. However, whatever you have material desires, you have envy towards me, you have anger, you have fear, your affect, whatever. One who comes to me gets me. Here it says gets liberation. Just approaching Krishna. So Rupa Goswami tells us, Yena Kenava. This way, that way, doesn't matter. Whatever way. Mana Krishna Niveshayet. Always have Krishna in your mind. Because that is the transforming feature of Krishna. And this is what Chitraketu is glorifying. Oh, very amazing. Everyone else who has material desires, when they go to the demigods, things happen that their material desires get fulfilled and then they become greedier. And when they become greedier, these desires become further strengthened. And then they pursue those desires and they get one life after another life, one life after another life. And it never ends. But you, my dear Lord, you know how to end that cycle of birth and death. And not just repeated birth and death cycle is ending, but you give them liberation from this cycle and you help them come to you. So, any comments, questions? Acharyanishta? Go ahead, I'll repeat the questions.
At the time of, we sometimes hear at the time of initiation
Right.
that the spiritual master takes a karma. But then sometimes we hear that, well, actually it's at second initiation that he takes a karma. Could you clarify those and distinguish?
Well, I have not heard about whether he takes the karma in the first initiation or second, or it's like, this is just the first, buddy. We'll see you at the second initiation. That's when I'm going to carry your baggage. The idea is that when sometimes it's referred to as the spiritual master takes the karma, it actually means that the spiritual master, uh, with the strength of his devotional service, burns up the karmic reactions. Otherwise, the spiritual master would have been loaded with all the karma of all the disciples. It means that he says, on Krishna's behalf, I accept, but it burns. He's not karmically affected, it burns. But it's described, Prabhupada would say, that when the disciple, after initiation, does foolish things, either breaks the principles or does really foolish things, then the spiritual master gets reaction in the form of bad dreams. That's what Prabhupada said, get bad dreams. So it's not like first or second initiation per se. Initiation is initiation.
Because in one sense, if the disciple, okay, if he does something like, break a regular principle or something bad, as you said, but also just not being fully surrendered is itself a fruitive reaction, is it not?
Yeah. The thing is, at the time of initiation, the idea is one should fully submit to the Guru. But the reality of it is that it doesn't happen like that all the time. And the second aspect is that surrender or submission is a process, it's not a one time event. So it's described that submission should be every day, in fact, every moment. Then a person becomes progressively submissive. But the submission at the time of initiation is that one is determined that from this day onwards, I will dedicate my life to the service of Guru and Krishna. That's the beginning of submission. Like this, that's the determined, conscious declaration that yes, I am. Let the whole world know that this is what I am committing myself to, that from here on I will become submissive to my spiritual master, while knowing that sometimes it's very difficult to submit. But that's what I'm going to do every day, every minute, moment to moment. I will try. I will make that effort. And what helps me in that effort is the hearing and chanting and associating, the seva. It helps me become submissive. It actually massages the heart, it opens the heart to become submissive. And it described that as you're becoming submissive, the nature of that submission is that we become freed of those material desires. They withdraw. The modes of nature, they withdraw. They don't affect the person. And we'll notice that as soon as we lose our submission for some reason, either because of pride or when we start enjoying the fruits of devotional service, which in Madhurya Kadambini describes as labha. Labha means we get some profit out of devotional service. Or puja, others worship us. Oh, Prabhuji, you are like the blessing for this planet, whatever. Or even that you're such an amazing devotee, blah blah. So we get some glorification. And pratishtha. Pratishtha is some position, some recognition in the society of devotees. It doesn't have to be, something very big, even though small position. Oh, this is senior devotee. And we think, I am senior devotee after all. This pratishtha, our submission slackens. And you know what happens? Slowly and slowly, the same old desires that we left, they start manifesting in the heart again. In fact, some go right back to the same things they had left and do the same things. Because somewhere the submission is challenged or slackened. Yes. In this point? Okay.
Hare Krishna. From what I remember of the Madhurya Kadambini, these various obstacles, Labha, Pratishtha, like I remember Tarangarangani, I think the waves, riding the waves of devotion. This is characteristics of anishtata bhakti. Correct? So we can understand for persons who actually manage to come to the level of nishta bhakti, then they won't really be susceptible to such.
That is correct. They will be susceptible, but they will be more cognizant of those things. Because anarthas are not completely eradicated yet. The susceptibility is still there. Submission, the practice of submission is during the anishtata bhakti. Because after that, it's not so much practice, it starts becoming one's nature. So in that phase, that's what happens. Because even to come to anartha nivritti is a big step. And if the submission is not, and we should expect unsteadiness, it should not be a surprise. Oh, I just realized I'm so unsteady. It shouldn't be a surprise. It is the nature of things in this stage. However, those, the day-to-day unsteadiness is not so crazy. It's not so bad in the sense that that's the nature of things. It's the, why do I need to? What is all this? This is not necessary. Or however things manifest, that's when things become more serious. The day-to-day unsteadiness is one day I don't feel like waking up. Today I'm very sleepy. I don't feel like really chanting my rounds. Or can I just not do what my services are? However, those unsteadiness will be there.
Another Srila Prabhupada, when describing, I think this is in the Nectar of Instruction, when he's describing the 3 levels of devotees, that the Uttam Adhikari, he cannot fall down. The Madhyam Adhikari, he can fall down, but he doesn't fall down.
Right.
Whereas the neophyte devotee, most likely he will fall down. There's another point on Acharya Shru's question of initiation.
So let me just say, on the fall down, it is connected to one's faith. Because Prabhupada talks about that in the context of faith, that Kanishta's faith is weak, so he can always change his mind. A Madhyama's faith is strong, so he doesn't change his mind, although he's challenged. And Uttama's never, because his faith is never challenged.
Another point, in the description of Griva and Nalakuvara, when they were in the heavenly realm and they were enjoying with the other celestial damsels, they were in the Ganges. So in the purport to this description of them, frolicking around in the Ganges, Prabhupada describes that although they were in the waters of the Ganges, which is purifying, they didn't receive the benefit of that because their spirit was that of enjoyment.
Right.
So Prabhupada brings this point out that it's the mental condition of the person engaging in the devotional act that actually allows the devotional benefit to be accrued. There's probably one could go into a more technical discussion, like some benefit is there, like slim, But I was just thinking in connection with this question of initiation, how much karma is relieved. Like, so your answer, I really appreciate this. To the degree one is submissive, then to that degree he's actually released of his various burden,
Because the fire of submission is very strong. Otherwise, it's like a large redwood tree trunk that we are trying to dry it with a little candle, a matchstick or a candle. It is definitely fire. It just takes forever. There's a story of a king like that. When a minister did something, I forget one. Anyway, I'll forget the punchline, so then that kills the story. Right?
In the gospel it says, of course, to fear God in here it comes from many Christians. So I was wondering if you can expand on...
If the gospel says what?
Fear God.
Fear God.
Fear God. And I was wondering if you can expand on where do you think that would come from?
Well, even in, I guess, India or Hindus, there is this term called fear of God. He's a God-fearing man, or she's a God-fearing woman. And some of the atheists, for them, this is a real bone of contention, that religion puts in fear to such a degree, and that the fear is used as the leverage for manipulation. You don't do like this, you'll go to hell for eternity. Okay. If you don't do like that. So, fear is definitely a motivating affect. And it has some value. But it's the lowest. And now fear is what something parents do to put into their child to help discipline them. So if you have a very small child or a little kid and you want to discipline them, sometimes the parents put fear into them. I'm going to punish you. You're going to get a timeout. You'll get this, something, or no dinner for you tonight, whatever. And that fear puts certain boundaries of behaviors. And if the child then grows up, he's a teenager, and mom says, no dinner for you, you'll be like, thank you, I don't want your cooking anyway. It stops motivating the fellow. I'm going to give you timeout. Try me. Who do you think you are, mom? No more fear. Because fear only works up to a point. It is for the very, very, unsophisticated, or I would say not fully mature, not even mature, very immature consciousness. So it has its place. But we don't come to Krishna out of fear. We shouldn't. We are asked to progressively develop to come to Krishna out of love. Going through sense of obligation, duty, discipline, to love. That whenever we do something, even in our day-to-day services, we are asked to do something. Oh, Nityananda Pran Prabhu, could you do something? And if I'm motivated by fear, I'll be like, oh man, if I don't do it, they'll say you're uncooperative, but let me do something. That's fear. Or they'll say, what is this? You're not a team player. I don't want to be known like that. Some fears there. Then there is some discipline. No, seva is good for me. This is good. It keeps me regulated. It's nice for me. It's nice for my devotional life. Then there is sense of duty. Hey, I'm being maintained by the devotees in the temple. This is something I should do. This is natural. This is duty for me. And higher than that is, this is pleasing to Krishna. Today they ask me to do this, it's pleasing. Tomorrow they say do that, that's what it is. It's pleasing to Krishna. Let me do it in a way that Krishna will notice it. That's love. So fear has its place, and scripture, even in our scriptures, there is fear to some degree. But it's the very low stage of yama and niyama. It puts certain boundaries. Like we all have boundaries. We have gate, we have walls, we have doors, we have cameras, locks, passwords. This is out of fear, right? That things that we have will be taken away. So fear has some value, but it is not the only feature that should guide our life. Is that okay? Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. You survived? I survived. Thank you for the mic.